Jetzt mal ganz ehrlich, wer von uns hat seine Finanzen wirklich jederzeit im Griff? Ich persönlich kämpfe täglich damit, meine Ausgaben zu kontrollieren und meine finanziellen Ziele nicht aus den Augen zu verlieren. Aber für so Hyopies wie mich gibt es Finanzguru. Denn stellt euch vor, ihr hättet einen persönlichen Finanzassistenten, der euch rund um die Uhr zur Seite steht. Und genau das ist Finanzguru, eine kostenlose App, die euer Smartphone in eine Schaltzentrale für eure Finanzen verwandelt. Und egal ob Girokonto, Kreditkarte, Depot oder Krypto-Wallets, mit Finanzguru habt ihr all eure Konten an einem Ort. Die App kategorisiert eure Einnahmen und Ausgaben automatisch und präsentiert sie euch in übersichtlichen und ansprechenden Grafiken. So behaltet ihr einen Überblick über euren täglichen Cashflow. Aber das ist noch nicht alles, denn Finanzguru erkennt auch automatisch eure Verträge. Vom Streamingdienst bis zu Mitgliedschaften in irgendwelchen Clubs oder obskuren Vereinen, die ihr gar nicht mehr so auf dem Schirm hattet. Und mit nur einem Fingertipp könnt ihr diese Verträge kündigen. Direkt in der App. Rechtssicher und unkompliziert. Und für alle, die noch tiefer in ihre Finanzen eintauchen möchten, gibt es Finanzguru Plus. Für nur 2,99 € im Monat erhaltet ihr detaillierte Analysen eures Ausgabeverhaltens und behaltet so die Kontrolle über euer verfügbares Einkommen bis zum nächsten Gehaltseingang. Und ab März gibt es eine neue Funktion. Mit der integrierten Überweisungsfunktion könnt ihr nämlich dann Geld noch sicherer und einfacher senden. Der innovative Fake-Shop-Radar erkennt betrügerische IBAN schon von Weitem und schützt euch so vor Betrug. Überweist Geld an externe Konten oder verwaltet eure Finanzen, indem ihr euch selbst Geld sendet. Alles in einer App. Nur als Fans dieses Podcasts haben wir ein besonderes Angebot für euch. Testet Finanzguru Plus ganze 3 Monate lang kostenlos. Ladet einfach die App herunter, verknüpft eure Konten, klickt auf euer Profil und gebt den Gutscheincode S&S ein. Das ist ein Wort, S&S. Das Angebot gilt nur für Neukunden und Neukundinnen. Den Link findet ihr in den Shownotes. So,
first of all, we're not journalists. We're fanboys. Mainly, we have a movie podcast in Germany. Are comedians.
So, and comedy writer and
awesome. So no journalists. So don't wait for journalists' questions.
And mainly,
my first question is, why are no horses in this movie? Why? I haven't seen any horse.
No horses?
Yeah, no horses.
There's some horses in there.
Yeah,
you missed them.
I guess so too. I told you, you can't ask this question because they are definitely horses.
They there. It's in the first shot of the movie.
Yeah,
it's a horse.
The first shot absolutely.
Yeah, pale horse.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was it. No, but we saw the movie yesterday and
10 o'clock in the morning.
10 o'clock in
IMAX.
the morning.
Nice.
It was an experience. It was. We never saw
the screen is as much as my hometown.
What is it?
Yeah,
yes.
Never seen a screen like that.
4 stories high, and it was so beautiful.
Oh,
it was.
Donkey.
Yeah, it was. It was an experience like I haven't seen for years. We had in my hometown we had an IMAX theater, but they closed it shortly before they starting to show feature films. They only show the documentaries,
like the space documentary.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Nature docs. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And that was fine as well. But
documentaries about birds.
Yeah,
I mean,
in mine they were awesome, but you know, after a time nobody came, and then they closed it, and a year or 2 years later they starting to show feature films in IMAX format. Now we have a IMAX back, and I'm thrilled to see it again. In my hometown, but it's a smaller.
Yeah. Maybe the 190 smaller size. It's just how the multiplex maybe.
Yeah.
They have different, you know, like everything. They got different size screens, and we shot with the best cameras money could buy.
Yes.
You know, and these are old cameras.
Mm.
These are old systems. You know, like the IMAX cameras. You know, it's funny because they rumored to have a new one that Chris has, and I think they're in Italy now with it. I'm so excited to see what he makes
This Odyssey.
Yes, yes. Yeah. I'm so excited to see what he comes back with, because I know when I saw him just a few months ago, and he had like a fire in his eyes.
I don't think this story has a twist when it comes out, but I think it's I think it's brilliant.
He'll find a way. If anybody find a way,
maybe he tells it backwards.
He'll find a way, you know. But he had like I could just see the fire in his eyes that he was about to go do something really cool, you know. So I'm excited to see what they do. But yeah, but we use, you know, some of the same cameras they take to space and into remote locations. You know, these things are tanks. Yeah. And then the System 65 cameras we used that project an Ultra Panavision 70. That's the other aspect ratio that you saw, the more narrow, wider version that you saw, you know, for the majority of the film.
The choice of doing this on IMAX on the largest canvas money can buy.
Yeah.
Was this idea from the first second? Or?
No. I actually thought it was going to be the opposite. I was going to shoot a Super 16.
Yeah.
I went and bought a camera.
Yeah.
Which I still have. It's parked in Ludwig's. It's parked in Ludwig's music studio closet.
Yeah.
All of the boxes for that camera that I bought. But I thought it was going to be a Super 16 movie, like you know, that looked like a Grindhouse movie.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
But as I got deeper into the research, and also just like the technology that we would need to use to do the twinning of Michael B. Jordan, you know, the visual effects supervisor that we were consulting with, we ended up not working with him on the film, but he had done a bunch of twin movies, and he said that negative, the size of the negative wouldn't be big enough and stable enough for us to be able to do the work that we needed to combine shots to duplicate Mike. Okay. So that got me off of 16, but then I went to 35. You know, I said, all right, it's going to be a 35 millimeter movie, which I had never worked with before, full disclosure. I never shot a 35 millimeter movie before, even though that was the industry standard for, you know, I don't know, half a century, maybe more. But I got a call from an executive at Warner Brothers who asked about large format, you know, and when he asked, I said, man, let me get back to you. But it really started to percolate in my mind, and right around that time, I took a trip, a research trip to the Mississippi Delta with Ludwig and his father, and I saw the landscape there, and the landscape feels very epic and unique, distinct, ancient, and to feel that landscape is to kind of understand the music and how it happened, you know. So then I realized, okay, we need to maybe really think about filming this in a way that's stark and interesting, and when I realized that this contribution of Delta Blues music is arguably the most important contribution that America has made to global artistic and global popular culture, you know, just if you judge its impact and how, you know, basically every other nation kind of took this music and made it their own, you know, and how that started to echo and ripple and ping pong off of each other, you know, and basically invented what we know today as popular music and what we know today as being cool, just being cool, you know what I mean? Like all of that came from this region.
Yeah,
I realized I'm telling a story that's epic in scope, that's every bit as epic as any epic that's ever been made, and the image would have like a hidden contrast in it if we put this epic sense of photography on this landscape, but also on these people that have been kind of forgotten purposefully and erased purposefully in this time period that is a very shameful one for us to look at for so many reasons. That every image would be ripe with contrast. Every image would feel like an act of like rebellion. You know what I mean? Just a close up. Now, on a hoodoo conjure woman in her shack, now becomes like a rebellious image. You know what I mean? Or a child, a barefoot child working as a sharecropper on a Saturday. You know, filmed with this technology now becomes a rebellious image. You know what I mean? Like the same way the same way that blues is a rebellious music. You know what I mean? Like, and that's when it crystallized for me that this is what it had to be. for the film to be able to contain everything that we were putting into it, you know.
So and it fits better to the size of the music.
Yes, yes,
absolutely.
No, you're absolutely right. Like it became obvious. That was what was needed, and I'll be forever thankful to Jesse for that, but also to Autumn for being brave, because this format can be daunting when you look at it from the outside in. And thankful to Hoyte, Van Hoytema, for spending time talking to her about it. Thankful to Jordan Peele for kind of breaking ground in terms of genre, for using these cameras for Nope, you know, so that I'm not the first to do a horror movie with these cameras, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm actually like the second, you know, but the other piece is, you know, I'm thankful to Chris and Emma for taking time to talk to me and Zenzi about it, just to adjust our mindset for what the medium would take. And I had a script supervisor named Steve Gerky, who works with Chris, who was fresh off of Oppenheimer right before we did this, so he could kind of give us a little bit of advice on how to attack some of the limitations of his photography format. For instance, with IMAX cameras, as soon as you turn it on, all of your dialogue is basically useless, you know, because it's so loud. Yeah. Okay. You know, and how to approach capturing performance. You know what I mean? When you got a camera that essentially sounds like a weed whacker. You know what I mean? Yeah, big time. Because it's pulling those 15 perf frames through the camera 24 times per second. You know what I mean? If we shooting regular speed, I got slow motion shots in this movie in IMAX, so it just sounds like, you know, it sounds like a high speed washing machine. You know what I mean? When it's going at 48. You know what I mean? And you know, so it's certain adjustments that had to be made. But Chris told me straight up, he was like, "Hey man, use it like you'll use a Super 8 camera. Like, don't let the camera scare you. You do what you do with it, and that's what's gonna help the medium continue to survive. You know what I mean? Like, he put that challenge at my feet, you know, which was really exciting. You know, and Emma had conversations with me and Zenzi about, you know, just how to talk to our crew about the camera, you know, from the producing standpoint, how to make sure nobody was operating from a place of fear. You know what I'm saying?
Have you crashed one, just like Christopher Nolan, or?
We didn't crash them. We definitely jammed them a couple of times. We never crashed them. I don't think. I have to ask Zenzi. But I mean, he doing, you know, our movie was, you know, we didn't have no reason to crash him, you know.
How proud you are for the shot when the twins roll a cigarette, give it to his brother, give it back.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Very.
That was awesome.
Very.
Huh?
Yeah. And that was a shot that came to me. You know, the idea of it came to me. You know, when I was working on it, because I'm constantly trying to like get. I'm constantly trying to improve, and I talk to my colleagues, and I'm often inspired and frightened by how good my friends are at making movies. You know, we push each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've learned to like seek that feeling out. You know, I want to go, like, that's part of the reason why I can't wait to see Odyssey. Like, I'm sure Chris is gonna do something that scares me. You know, what I mean? Yeah. Where it's like, Jesus Christ, I gotta make movies at the same time this guy's alive. You know what I mean? Like that feeling is actually like a very fertile feeling, creatively. You know, to know that there's people around you achieving greatness. You know what I mean? And pushing the medium forward, and I'll run towards that feeling. You know, and I got a buddy named Shaka King, who I had the pleasure of producing for. He made a film called Judas and the Black Messiah that we produced at Proximity. And I remember him talking to me about watching something from another friend of ours named Michaela Cole, who made a show on HBO called I May Destroy You. Yeah, and it's a beautiful show if you haven't seen it. Beautiful show. She wrote it and stars in it as an actor. And what Shaka said to me, and Shaka's a director, but he also can act. You know what I mean? Like, he's very dexterous artist. And he said that show made me think about character as behavior, you know, as opposed to character as backstory. You know, which is a place that I tend to work from as a writer. You know, and he said like what Michaela did was character as behavior. You know, you learn about people by what they do. You know what I mean? As opposed to not what happened to them, but what they actively do from moment to moment. And I thought about that, and I challenged myself, and I said, man, when we meet these twins, I want them to be completely alone. I want it to be one of the few scenes where they are alone in this movie. Yeah. And I don't want them talking to each other, because they don't have to talk to each other when they by themselves. You know, and I want to show the audience what their relationship is without any words. You know, and that was where where I realized, okay, Smoke is nicotine addicted. You know, Stack maybe isn't. You know what I'm saying? But Smoke is so he basically shell shocked from things that are happening in his life, and specifically the trench. You know,
show don't tell.
Yeah. And, you know, so he has a tremble. Yeah, like a slight tremble in his hands. And he's a nicotine addicted guy who can't roll his own cigarettes. You know, and Stack because of how he processes trauma is he doesn't really deal with it. He lets it like kind of ride. Yeah. So he's been in the same trenches. Yeah. You know, but his hand, he doesn't have the shakes. You know, he doesn't really hold things. You know what I mean? He lets him go, and he's not nicotine addicted. So the only time he smokes is when he's around his brother. You know, and he has the lighter, he has the tobacco, he has the papers, you know, and that's his gig to roll for his brother, you know. So how I conceived the shot was the camera would just be on them, you know, and they would pass, and they wouldn't have to look at each other. Incredibly complicated stuff we had to figure out, like with VFX and with performance. But here's the gift of filmmaking. My cinematographer read the script, knew what I was trying to do, and she had a different idea. She said, hey, how about I move the camera? So I started, and you only see the older brother. And then just by the nature of the movement, the younger brother grows out of him. You know, like that idea just blew my mind. I would have never thought about that. It takes a cinematographer to read the story, and that was the final touch of communicating to the audience who's older and whose story this is, like of the twins. You know what I mean? Like it's you know, we showing you that it's actually this is Smoke's story. You know, like Stack is gonna play a role in this. But we also telling you that he's older, and also that Smoke protects Stack. You know what I mean? He's physically hiding him from the camera on this reveal. And you know, for me, you calling out that shot, because that shot very rarely gets called out, because we got a lot of more showy shots in this movie. You know.
First,
we can talk about a lot of shots.
But like it's very because that is the shot that I think I look at in the movie, and I'm the most proud of, like, where I've come as a filmmaker. If that makes sense.
And it sets the tone. You know, you know, okay, they done it right. Mal ehrlich, wer von euch keinen Bock mehr hat auf Zuckersoftdrinks und künstlichen Aromen, für den gibt's eigentlich nur noch eine Alternative. Und die heißt Holy. Holy, das sind echte Geschmacksexplosionen ohne den ganzen ungesunden Kokolores. Und Holy gibt es in 3 genialen Geschmackskategorien. Holy Energy, der Wachmacher ohne Taurin, dafür aber mit dem sanften Kick von New Calf, perfekt, um dich über das typische Mittagstief zu wuchten. Holy Iced Tea, die kalorienarme Erfrischung ohne Koffein, ideal für die Abwechslung zwischendurch. Und Holy Hydration, der Durstlöscher für Sportler und alle, die dies werden wollen. Mit hochwertigen Elektrolyten und Mineralstoffen. Aber warum sich nur mit einer Sorte begnügen? Um die ganze Vielfalt von Holy kennenzulernen, gibt's nichts Besseres als das Starter Set Deluxe. Denn da ist alles drin. Alle 21 Bestsellersorten, und zwar doppelt. Also 42 Portionen oder rund gerechnet 21 Liter purer Genuss. Plus Gratis-Shaker. Und das alles für unschlagbare 49,99 € statt 91 €. Und für Sträter und Streberg-Fans gibt es 5 € Rabatt auf eure erste Bestellung. Einfach beim Checkout den Code SUS5 eingeben. Ich wiederhole nochmal, SUS5. Den Link findet ihr wie immer in den Shownotes. Can you talk a little bit about how Michael had prepared for playing twins?
I can talk a lot about it, bro. Like, Mike's really good at his job, and you know, he's getting older. He's kind of like a man out of time in a way, because he's a movie star at a time where there aren't many anymore. You know, he's a movie star like in an old school fashion, like the Tom Cruise, the Will Smith fashion of having the almost limited charisma that a movie star requires.
Yeah.
The ability to just kind of sit still, be photographed, and the audience automatically cares about you. You know, that's not something that you can control. That's something that you're kind of born with.
Can you tell him at the last Creed movie in Germany, teenagers began to demolish cinemas. They see the Creed movie and began to fight and completely destroy cinemas in Germany.
Oh, I'll let him know.
Just for fun, with popcorn, with Coca-Cola, pulling out seats.
Yeah,
it's just like when we see Godzilla movies with 11 at Sunday.
Yeah,
and it's the same. In every Creed.
I'll let him know.
Every Creed audience in Germany totally demolished the cinemas.
Is that true?
That is true.
Oh, that's crazy.
That is true. Yeah,
that's so cool.
In fact, it's just this Bruce Lee vibes that you have when you see a fighting movie.
Yeah.
I know, you get pumped. When you saw a movie like Creed, you get pumped.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't think it's good that they, destroying property or hurting people. No, I don't want to endorse that. But like the idea that the film inspires them to move.
Yeah.
Is very interesting. Like that is a dynamic that happens with boxing movies. Like you'll find that like that. That's kind of, I found that too. I made one and I produced Creed 3 for Michael.
I know.
But I found that that's the barometer more so than the test score. But boxing movies tend to test really well. You know what I mean? But the real barometer is like, are people getting up in their seats and punching the air? Because they will do that if it's done well. You know what I mean?
Punching in the air is okay, but
I don't want them punching each other.
Clean up complete cinemas. Have to rebuild seats. Have to.
I remember when I first saw the Rocky movies on a crappy VHS tape.
Yeah.
And I got pumped. I'm never interested in boxing.
Yeah.
But
the storytelling.
Yeah.
You get invested.
Yeah.
It gets inside your body.
Yeah.
Because I think. Look, I think cinema as a language, it communicates with your subconscious.
Absolutely.
And deep down in your subconscious doesn't know that you don't like boxing. You know what I'm saying? Your subconscious doesn't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like it connects with another human being. It connects with the storytelling, and it says, "Hey, I gotta move like this guy's moving." You know what I mean? If it's coming at you the right way, it's the same thing with horror cinema. Like you watch Rosemary's Baby and you feel unsettled.
Yeah.
Even though there's no language telling you to be unsettled.
Yeah.
But the filmmaking is telling you that.
Yes, of course.
And your subconscious is saying, "Hey, I'm in danger."
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Even though you know that you fine.
Yeah.
Your conscious knows I'm in my living room. You know what I mean? Like so on. But the subconscious is saying, "Hey yo, something's wrong. Get the fuck out of there." You know what I'm saying? Turn that off. Filmmaking has that ability. Yeah. And that's kind of like our duty to like shepherd the subconscious. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I have to say, when I first saw the first trailer of Sinners, it reminded me a little bit of From Dusk Till Dawn. But when I saw the movie,
it
reminded me of Assault on Precinct 13.
Yeah. Totally.
And there is another Carpenter-inspired scene.
Yeah, the thing.
The garlic scene.
Yeah.
Now you spoiled it. I wouldn't spoil it for the fans.
It's not a spoiling to say the garlic scene. I think it's okay.
But we laughed so hard. Because he said, that's a thing.
100%.
And I said,
100%.
Yeah, you sure? Yeah, you're absolutely right.
There's some nice Salem Slot moments. It's
that's my shit.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
Salem Slot is my thing.
Can't come in. That's the.
Yeah.
You have to look. What's the vampires? Genuine. Kind of acting, or can they cross water, or is it sunlight, or are there crosses or something, crucifixes, and this they can't come in. That's best. It's completely told, not this 5-minute shot on on the window with the mist in Salem's Lot. It's very nice idea.
Oh yeah,
and
very nice vampires. By the way.
Oh, thank you.
Very nice vampire design.
I've seen a lot of shitty vampire movies, all of them. I also hate Nosferatu.
Oh no! Oh, I'm not gonna speak on that. I liked it.
You liked? I liked the first 20 minutes.
Yeah,
because I'm afraid. And the rest of the movie, they stand in cold rooms with natural lights and decorative. The cups and so.
I love that movie. Okay.
Yeah, don't forget we're German, so we are because
of the original ones. It belongs to you.
We saw it basically in kindergarten.
I got you. The original belongs to you. I understand that. I understand that.
But I have to go back to Jack O'Connell, which
lovely
such a great antagonist, and I love scenes. When I always call them Shark Tank scenes, where the villains are super nice, like Christoph Waltz in
Glorious Bastards.
Genau.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
sorry.
And other movies with Christopher Waltz.
Yeah, or my favorite in True Romance with Christopher Walken and
with the Sicilian scene.
The Sicilian scene. And I love that, and this was on par with that, and he's standing there, and he's nice, he's polite, and he tells, and then they sing this beautiful song,
Wild Mountain Time, Go Lassie Go,
yeah.
I mean, for me, the vampire had to be, he had to be of the themes of the movie, and. For me, the movie is about the power of community, and he had to. That is what he had to want, For him just wanting to drink blood that would bore me. You know what I mean? Like in all of my favorite vampire movies, what the vampires really want is connection. Salem's Lot is a book.
Yeah,
and that dude was basically Dracula. So it was okay for him to just want to dominate. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like I'm making a movie, and it has to be. It can't be Dracula. You know what I mean? It has to be this. It has to be about the Delta Blues. It's based on my relationship with my uncle, and my realization that when he was listening to the blues, he had fled Mississippi. He had to run from that place, to California. And it was a place that he did not like to talk about,
Okay.
But it still was home for him. So he was so Remick in many ways, he represents my uncle. In that what he says to Sammy at the end of the movie, it's not a spoiler, but he tells him he hears something that he hasn't heard for a long time. And the thing that is comforting to him, but he also hates it. And he acknowledges both things. And that is a part of what it means to be African American. You know what I mean? Like I'm the United States is my country. You know what I mean? It's my home, but it also is a place that severely violated my people. You know what I mean? Like I gotta hold both ideas constantly, and my uncle had to hold that about Mississippi, It was a place that created the music that he loved. He listened to these records when he was homesick, but also he didn't like talking about home. It was things that happened to him there he would never share with me, He escaped it, but he also longed for it, And so for me, like the vampires in this movie had to be synonymous with longing.
Okay.
They had to be. You know what I mean? Like the character, the Sammy had to have something that he wanted more than just his blood. So that was how we came up with this character. And Jack's performance was fueled by love. His father was an Irish immigrant to the UK. If you ask Jack, man, what are you? He would tell you, man, I'm an Irishman. Even though he was born and raised in the UK. he lost his father, you know, at a young age. And his performance, I know, was dedicated to his dad. So I have an antagonist being performed by one of the world's most talented actors from a place of love and grief. You know what I mean, and desire to connect. You know, like you know, Jack picked that song. You know, I wrote in the script a sparse mountain song, and Jack said, "Hey, this song." Because it meant something to his father. You know what I mean?
It was a standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Last question. Okay, about the music. Ludwig Göransson might be a genius.
Yeah.
So that's all.
It's no might. It's no might. He is. I know he will.
He is a genius.
He is just a man, but he is a genius.
How long he needs for the music, for the whole music?
Well, he produced this movie. He was the executive producer on this movie.
I've seen it.
His wife worked on the movie as an executive producer on the music side. And he gave his entire self to it. He was there on set every day. It was the first time that ever happened for him. You know, he usually would pop in and out when I'm filming, but he was there the whole time in New Orleans. And he went places that I've never seen him go before with this music.
So
you know,
never.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So it's the most impressive. It's the most impressed I've ever been by him, and I've known him nearly 20 years. You know, and in this music, in this music are things about him that only I know.
Yeah.
You know, to be honest with you.
To see it again.
Yeah,
for sure.
Only for the music.
We didn't even talk about Miles Caton and his
incredible
Wir haben
discovery.
keine Frage mehr. Die Zeit.
Yeah.
Time is up. Time is up.
We'll do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
We have to do
my visual effects supervisor,
Yeah.
Michael Rala, is from the Black Forest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's from the Black Forest. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Yeah, we have seen Industrial Light and Magic and so on. You have,
yeah.
But we are also.
Yeah.
We are sorry.
We have to
Sorry,
go.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck.
Stop
Good
it.
luck.
Yeah,
Good luck with
thanks.
the movie, and
Beautiful
we
movie.
hope. Yeah, it's an awesome film.
Thank you,
Ja,
guys. Thank you both.
Abflugbursche.
Was soll das denn? Jetzt macht mal Platz und lasst mich rein.
Wieso bittest du ihn denn darum? Du bist groß und stark, zwäng dich doch vorbei.
Das wäre aber nicht sonderlich höflich, oder, Miss Annie? Ich weiß nicht mal, wieso ich überhaupt mit dir rede.
Rede nicht mit ihm, du redest jetzt mit mir, verstanden? Wieso kannst du deinen fetten Arsch ohne Einladung nicht hier reinschieben, ha? Na los, jetzt gib schon zu,
Zugeben, was denn?
dass du tot bist.
Smoke, hast du das gehört? Jetzt stehen wir hier draußen, spielen Spielchen und erzählen uns Geistergeschichten, statt zu tun, was wir tun sollten.
Und was genau sollten wir jetzt tun?
Einfach nett zueinander sein. Und freundlich. Wir sind doch schließlich alle eine Familie. Und man sollte eben nicht uneingeladen bei anderen Leuten zu Hause reinplatzen. Also?
Du bist den ganzen Tag rein und raus und hast keine Einladung gebraucht. Ja, irgendwas ist hier faul.
Kriege ich dann wenigstens mein Geld?
Oh, weil du so zuverlässig warst, willst du auch noch Geld dafür haben?
Vorsicht.